Okay, we will officially bring the meeting to order now at 6:01. Do you want to, do you have any additions to the agenda, or you just want to wait till we get to new business, or is for Kathleen's chart?
Kathleen's chart is on the agenda, and I have it that we
Is
can
it
look
under
at.
the annual progress report?
No, 3.2, Jerry.
3.2. Oh, okay. I see it. Okay. Got it. Okay, let's approve the minutes to the meeting for February. Is there any questions or additions or corrections?
I just misspoke at that meeting, and I said that under 4.1 bullet 1, I said no January meeting convene in March. It was actually at that point we were supposed to convene in February. So that's my error, but might as well be correct for at that point in time.
Okay. Anything else? All those in favor of approving the minutes for February? Say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Is there any opposed? Okay, the meetings are unanimously approved. Okay, we're going to move on to the Sandy Hoodland Library, the advisory committee and the annual report for the advisory committee.
I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. So that is on the large screen for everybody to look at. And this isn't the PDF that was attached. This is the original document so that I can make notes in it if we want to make any changes or additions. So this is the first section is just the city population and unincorporated population. And then the board members, and we had a full board at the end of that year. So that is it there. Go on to section 2. And I did make a few corrections because I noticed a few problems. So one of the corrections was in 2.2. I had 1,620,234, I think, in there, but it was 124. So that the revenue balance or the total revenue does almost equal because of the uneven numbers that go in there, but it's $1 off. So it's probably just cents. So there is our total revenue and our total expenditures for that year.
81,000.
So we had an ending fund balance, $81,000. Operational support, ready to read grant, fines, fees, and donations. And then here, any questions about the revenue? Yes, Kathy.
I'm wondering, since we have to say this every single time, under 2.27, if you couldn't just put HO next to building rent. And then that would carry through year to year for you instead of having to do a footnote of some sort.
Yes, and I cannot make notes in here because I can't use the keyboard. So let me just, there's a hiccup to our plan here. Okay, 2.7, I will add Hoodland for building rent.
Right.
Any other questions about the revenue? Or this was an expenditure, but so here is the total expenses, which matches total. Doesn't have expenditures somewhere else to match.
Was on the prior page.
Oh, there it is. Total expenditures, 1543941, 942. So. We don't have any library reserves. We've got the debt service.
Please provide a brief overview of outstanding debt.
Allocated costs detail. So allocated costs for 1 year, which was the problem last time around, 176,686, and that matches the allocated costs up here, 176,686.
Mhm.
And then here is how the city determines allocated costs. And then I added this note. We put this note in the last report to LDAC because we had already talked to Tyler, but it hasn't gone into effect yet, right? It goes into effect with the 2021 or the 21-22 budget. So I just wanted to make sure we left that note in there, and that was exactly basically what we said in the previous year's report.
The only question I had was whether we should change the reference in the next to the last line. It says 1920, whether that should say 2021, since this is the 2021 report.
Are the percentages still accurate?
That's what I was wondering. I'll have to look that up.
I can look that up. So 2.55. Last line, 2021.
Next to last line.
Okay. And look at percentages.
I think it is because I think that 3% was for the biennial.
Mhm.
So it would apply to both
Right.
portions, I think.
Okay, all right, and then there is the 2.56, which talks about the friends. And so the Friends of the Library started with the second quarter, asking us if we had any needs because we were open a little bit and starting to sell a few items. So they were starting to take in a little bit of money. So we requested $1,418, but then by the end of second quarter, they let us know that they were going to, that the Oregon Community Foundation was going to start dispersing checks annually to us. And the amount was over the amount that the Friends of the Library had pledged to us yearly. So I just decided not to request funds for the remaining quarters ultimately.
So I think this could be a little clearer. I don't know that you need the first sentence since nothing came of it. And then, let's see, the end of the second sentence, it would say, we receive a disbursement directly from the Oregon Community Foundation from an endowment established by the Friends on behalf of Sandy Library programming. Because it sounds like one doesn't know why the Oregon Community Foundation is
Okay, yeah, that does. So,
expensing money.
okay, can you repeat that? Kathy?
Right, so after OCF, from an endowment established by the Friends on behalf of Sandy Library Public Programs.
Okay,
Now, in the next sentence, are you sure it's going to be over 16,000 this year?
that's what
That's what
Jack and
they
Dale
sent you.
told me.
Okay, just because with the market having gone down, I was wondering whether that would have gotten recalculated for this year, but, okay.
I mean, as far as I know, as of today, so when we turn in this report, it would be accurate my
Yes,
knowledge.
and actually, I think they've done their calculation
Okay.
already for you. So I guess the question is then, do you get rid of, if we got rid of the first sentence, do you get rid of the next sentence after the parenthetical of 12,005?
Good.
Would,
And then just say these funds will be recorded in the library budget in the donations revenue line.
I was gonna suggest you add in the future these funds will. Right, because it won't, it doesn't apply to 2021. It'll start with, when will you get your first check? July, so that will be in the
In the
new
future. Yeah.
22, 23 fiscal year.
Mhm.
And then what was the beginning of that sentence?
Just say in the
In
future,
the future.
these.
Okay.
So the Oregon Community Foundation is something set up by.
Yes. Yeah, they set up a fund with the Oregon Community Foundation, so.
It's an endowment that has over $400,000. I know, it's awesome what they did.
It is amazing.
We don't have to go off on one side.
How did they do that?
They were
The
doing it.
sales from the,
Yeah,
from the book
Really?
and separate little small fundraisers.
yeah, I mean, they generally do an annual fundraiser where they send out a letter and ask people, you know, when taxes are about to be due to donate. And then membership fees and the sales of books, yeah.
They started it in 2010 and put some funds that they already had in, but that started with like $30,000 at that point. So that just, it's incredible. It is truly amazing.
So they're still doing it.
Yeah.
And so all of the book sales now will go towards that, so they won't giving the library $12,500 a year, so that will all go into
Yes.
the fund.
Does Hoodland do book sales?
Yes.
But they haven't started them up yet.
No,
I know that a few months ago, I donated a bunch of books here
Mhm.
because I couldn't do it at Hoodland.
Right. They are selling the things that are back there, but I think they have a back stock of things to continue to put out, and they didn't have room to
Okay.
accept more.
For my next go round.
Yes, you can give it to Hoodland in your next go round.
So then on your Hoodland one, it was just quirky because of the COVID thing, right? I mean,
Yeah.
can you start a new paragraph or are you stuck within the cell?
I think I
can't hit a return.
I think I can hit space for long enough to make it look like a new paragraph.
I think that you can hit Alt Enter and that'll start a new line within the
True,
sentence.
Cheyenne, I can do that too.
Cheyenne.
Okay, I will Alt Enter for Hoodland. All right, any other thoughts on this? So section 3 is the service standards, and I'm not sure if they wanted us to put in our actual open hours at the end of that year, because a lot of libraries probably still weren't really open. We had some open hours, but I put in our actual hours, and I added an asterisk with actual open hours due to the pandemic.
Mhm.
So that it was clear that that was sort of an anomaly, and then in the next page, I put in additional information about that.
Yeah, right. I was wondering if in 3.12, it's, of quirky the way it's laid out, right? You shouldn't put C 4.1 where you have your, because it goes to the question of whether we were satisfying the threshold, right? And you couldn't satisfy the threshold effectively.
Well, this is about the new OLA standards, though, 3.12. Right? The most recent, and that's not, these are, remember, these are the old standards. Yeah. So unfortunately, there's not a place on this page to actually say anything about any of these old standards. Yeah. Okay, so these are the only additional comments I made. The Hoodland libraries were open limited hours through July 6, 2021 because of the pandemic. We opened our new full hours on July 7th. Sandy Library is open 52 hours. Hoodland Library is open 35 hours for a total of 87 hours. So normally our hours open would be 87, but they were 46 because we were only partially open.
I think you should add 2021 after July 7 again, just to make it clear that it doesn't really apply to the fiscal year that you're reporting on.
Right,
You're just clarifying.
right. 6 days after the end of the fiscal year.
Right.
We should have done it on June 30th, right?
Looks like you're fantastic.
All right. And then we just have the certification page with everybody's names and email addresses.
Go back up. Do you have this total misspelled? It was on the PDF. Yeah, total 87.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Any other thoughts about this report?
I have just a conceptual issue. If the budget will, it's not this biennium, right? Actually start segregating Hoodland and Sandy
That will be in the next budget cycle.
next budget cycle. I was just wondering at some point whether we should start doing 2 reports.
Once
You know,
Hoodland
one for
and
Sandy and one
Sandy's
for Hoodland.
budgets are broken out, we can do that. I mean, I didn't do it basically because the state report considers us one library. And so I report to the state is as one library. We didn't have a lot of numbers broken out. But with the new budget system that we're gonna have in place, we will have all of those numbers broken out. So we could report them as 2 separate libraries.
So we'll consider that
Yeah,
in the future.
yes.
Okay.
Okay. Could you send us out a copy of that, Sarah?
Of the,
Of the report?
yes, once I do the changes, I can send it out to you.
I'd like to, that I have a brief overview of it. I'd like to look at it for longer than 5 minutes.
It was part of the package, Jerry.
Yeah, it was part of the agenda packet.
Oh, was it?
Yeah,
Okay, sorry.
that's okay.
Was that part of the 30 pages?
Yes,
indeed.
it was. part of
Okay,
it.
then I can go back through that.
21.
Yeah.
Yeah, there were 19 pages of the previous minutes because we had minutes from 3 board meetings in our minutes.
I breezed through the minutes. I didn't get that rest of it.
Yeah,
Then you don't have to do anything. I already did it.
well, I
Yeah.
think I should send it out to you guys since I'm gonna make changes, and I'll send it out to you basically when I send it to Catherine Bull at the network office.
Okay. Okay. We're gonna move on to new business. Kathleen,
Okay, so, I'll take this off. Should make it easy.
Tell me when you want me to share the screen.
Well, this is really just to bring everybody up to date. I had put in a public request to the county to try to find out the value of the gift that the county made to Happy Valley when it bestowed a building and land and a fully renovated library on Happy Valley. And basically what that was, I don't know if you all remember the old town center library that used to be in the corner of the town center. And eventually it moved over to Happy Valley behind the Albertsons, below the Albertsons. And that was being run by the county. Happy Valley was always supposed to take it over, but they equivocated for a long time and danced around. And eventually what happened was this building and a turnkey library was transferred to Happy Valley. Now, Happy Valley is substantially unincorporated residents. 2/3 of their patrons are unincorporated residents. And one of the questions I've been having all along is, I believe that Hoodland has been treated unfairly. It's 5,000.
believe it too.
Oh, good, okay, Jerry. Sandy and Hoodland were early on in the process of renovating their libraries. And as part of the new library district, we had received a capital contribution from the county. All the libraries did. Hoodland received $250,000. Sandy received $1 million, excuse me. Happy Valley got $2 million thrown into that pot, in part because they're one of the biggest libraries. But one of the things that's been bothering me is that on a per capita basis, it struck me that Hoodland was getting the short end of the stick. And the whole Hoodland situation was complicated because years ago, the county had dangled a new senior community center to them. And in fact, Beth Scarth, who was the director then, said, fine, great, we'll put our library in that building. That would be great, it would be a great synergy. It evaporated, totally evaporated. So we took over the library that had been next door to the liquor store up there. I don't know if you remember that. And then Beth managed to negotiate a nice lease with the building where the bakery used to be. And the renovation money went into that building. And I frankly think that little library is a gem, but it's tiny, right? It will eventually need to get bigger. But the $250,000 was totally consumed, not surprisingly.
That's Rod's price.
Right. But, so this thing has been bothering me for years. And I finally decided, as the Oak Lodge situation has been brewing, and we're trying to get the county to cover the cost of that library, that if in fact the county does finally pay for the Oak Lodge library, that we'll have a second situation where we can say that the Hoodland citizens were not treated as well as either Happy Valley unincorporated or Oak Lodge unincorporated. I put in a public records request last fall, took a long time, got the answer back, and they gave me book value for what the book value was of the transfer to the county. Well, what's the point of that? Now granted, that's all, in terms of the county, that's all the money it considers to have transferred over. But Happy Valley got the benefit of the fair market value of the building and the land. So I finally went down to the tax assessor's office just a month ago. And I said, give me all the data for the last decade on what the tax assessor thought that building was worth. And so we have the data finally. So
All right.
put it up on the screen.
Yeah.
Here's the reveal.
All right.
So what I did was you have assessment data over time. And as we all know, the real market value is what the assessor thinks the land and the building are worth on one day, usually the 2nd of January, right? And if you haven't really looked at your number, you also know that it tends to be a bit compressed, I think, right? We're not talking the
Market
measure
value.
5 value. This is what they think is the real market value. So I figure under any scenario, these numbers are conservative. The transfer of the building, well, the building the county had owned previously and had leased out to North Clackamas Educational Service District or something like that. In 2009, they took the building back, and then the construction was completed in 2012. The library moved in the summer or fall, I think, of 2012, and the building was transferred to Happy Valley in July of 2015. And you can see that the assessor's office thinks the building improved and the land was worth $7.4 million at that point. Now they went in July, so I figured, well, maybe we take an average of 2015 and 2016, but as you work your way further down, you'll see I did it two ways. Just taking the January 2015 value, so we take the gross of 7.4 million, subtract the 2 million that they were supposed to get anyway in terms of contribution under what's called the capital intergovernmental agreement, and you get a net of 5.4. If you divide that by what is their current service area, which is approximately what it was even back then, it's round numbers, you get $97 per capita. If you multiply that times the 5,500 residents of Hoodland, Hoodland would get $500,000. And so I ran the number a variety of different ways, and then I took it a different way and also said, well, okay, if you want to subtract the $2 million and the $250,000, you can go a variety of routes, but Hoodland should receive an extra $484,000 to $565,000. Now, are we ever likely to get that? No, certainly not as a lump sum. And I fully expect that the county will, as always, plead it doesn't have the money, right? We don't have it. We've got so many other things we have to do. However, the rent at Hoodland is $20,000 a year. If the county is providing buildings and land to these two other libraries, at a minimum, I think they should pick up the rent. This is what I hope to do with our Hoodland, and Jerry, you too. However, I had hoped that by now we would know what the county was doing with the Oak Lodge Library. Sadly, that is an ill-fated library. It is so sad. They've worked 4 years to come up with a plan. which was supposed to be in conjunction with the North Clackamas Parks and Recreation Department, placing a new library immediately adjacent to the old Concord Elementary School. And because there was supposed to be this synergy, they had this building placed within 15 feet of the old library. And they learned in November that North Clackamas doesn't have the money. 3 years into the process, they suddenly said, oh, sorry, we don't have the money. That threw everything into upheaval. And the Oak Lodge people were left not knowing what to do. Meanwhile, construction costs keep skyrocketing. And design costs now had to be redone slightly because there was a decision by the task force to be a standalone library, to no longer be totally intertwined with the Concord building. So that required a little bit of redesign. So at the March 15 meeting, the Oak Lodge people said, there's so much to this story. It is straight out of a soap opera. But they basically said, you're shoving this redesign down our throats without us having been able to consider, based on the change of circumstances, whether this is really the best design to go forward. So they asked for some revisions or some alternate drawings to be prepared. We had been under the impression that this was all going to go to the Board of Commissioners in early April. It is now for an uncertain date. We can't go plead our case for Hoodland until the Oak Lodge situation is resolved, to be able to say, here are 2 sets of numbers we need to make good to Hoodland. So unfortunately, I had thought that we would be able to do this by early summer. I don't think we're going to be able to do this probably till early fall would be my guess. Anyway, that's the story. We're going to try to get some money for Hoodland. Now it strikes me we could go a variety of ways. One of which is to encourage the county to buy a building. Or to do something with the Parks District if ultimately your Parks District succeeds. So maybe it's not a bad idea that there's a little more time, because by then you'll know whether you have succeeded or not with the Parks District. And then we could consider, well, how might this argument go forward? It's not something that's going to result in quick money anyway. But if we could get them to cover the lease, you'd get a little cushion in terms of your hours.
Right.
Not a whole lot of cushion, but a little.
I think it's worthy to start laying that groundwork for those 2 options. County purchasing a building, is there a building large enough to facilitate a library moving into it? And Parks Department, how do they want to play? Do they want to play in the game? Are they financially able to do it? And if you've got those answers already squared away, then when you take this, and I agree, there's no reason they couldn't pick up the rent to 20,000 down. What a huge bonus to Woodland, 20 grand.
Yeah.
But to be able to say they agree and then say, okay, and here's our options.
Yeah.
By the way, here's a building, and here's what we can do with Parks Department, and maybe that building or something else. And they can't go, oh shoot, we were hoping to send you away and do a year or two study to figure this out.
Well, it's possible, maybe the building the library is in might be.
Increase the
You know
size.
who owns that, Jerry?
It's the Thurmans.
Oh, it's
Well, yes, because there's adjacent retail space
yeah.
that's currently retail.
Do they have long-term leases that would be a mess to get out of?
I have no idea. I have no idea.
Well, one of them is run by the Thurman's business is out of that building.
Oh, is it? I
Okay.
thought it was across the
Okay.
street.
Yeah, and then there's the laundromat behind and a storage and the water
It's a
company
a
has an
bakery there.
office. Yeah, so,
There's a number of little businesses. in
Yeah.
there.
It's not unheard of, because that corner of the library used to be a karate school.
And so, in some ways, if it were possible to get that building, then all of the improvements that were made
Yeah,
to, the existing library, they wouldn't be lost. Just try to tack on another room or something, but this is all
yeah,
to be discussed further.
yeah. And part of the park district, part of the thinking behind it is to have a governmental entity where you can go for grants and do other things. And one of the big things in people's mind is a community building, because we lost the community building. So when I read the paperwork on that, it was just astounding that they were $750,000 short. 300,000 or more is county fees. So, no, building has to come down, and then they pay, using some of the money apparently to raise for the RFP, to have someone take the building down. And you're like, really? It just seems like very cross-eyed thinking to me, but there you go. To be so close to be able to renovate it, and it's a lovely historic building, so it's a great shame. So, but we have to wait for May.
Right, so this may not matter, right? We
Right,
have the
right.
data.
Yeah.
And one hopes we'll have more data.
Yeah.
Once we know what the Oak Lodge situation is. And I guess I should report that, as the LDAC representative for Sandy and Hoodland, I have submitted a position paper. Is that the right way to do it? A memorandum to the county administrator and to the Board of Commissioners. Taking the position that district revenue cannot be used for debt repayment
Mhm.
or land purchase. So we're waiting to see what happens. There's a lot of stuff brewing down at the county right now. We really don't know how it's going to come out.
Because we really don't know how they came up with the money for Happy Valley. Or,
Oh, they didn't have to come up with any money. That was the beauty of it. See, they already had this turnkey
Oh.
library. And they gifted it to Happy Valley. They've had political problems with Happy Valley. Oh, gosh.
Oh, yeah.
For a long, long time. And this was part of a dance.
mm,
The county was going to do this anyway, but the issue is how much of a gift did Happy Valley and its residents receive? And, my argument is Hoodland deserves the same.
mhm. Going back even farther when they were suggesting a library for Hoodland, or when Beth was there, was that due to the sale of some property up here by the county? That they sold it to another nonprofit? No?
You mean what, Jerry, you saying when they had dangled the other seats?
Yes, when they were dangling it.
I I honestly don't remember.
Okay.
I wasn't in the day-to-day discussions of that. I just recollect it.
Mm-hmm. Well, I recollect when the Dorman Center existed, there was a Clackamas County Parks Committee. And I remember the Dormans used to go to that once a month. And I went to it a few times. And that's when my recollection is they had a pot of money, and I want to say it came from the sale of a piece of property up here, and it went into the Parks Committee as all of Clackamas County, and they were going to divvy it up, but it ended up that I believe I think it was Malala ended up with most of the money. Which is not nice to say, but they cried the most, so they got
Yeah.
that's kind of how it worked out. So,
Well, let's see how much we can cry this time.
yeah, but that's kind of the story of way it's gone up here for decades.
Yeah, there's not much clout.
Mm-mm. So,
Our clout unfortunately has to come through embarrassment. And what we found with the other library related issues is sadly, you almost have to shame the Board of Commissioners publicly.
uh-huh.
And I'll do it again. It's not the hardest thing to do.
No.
They do respond. And, you know, if we took a good group from Hoodland down to a public meeting and made a lot of noise, we might succeed.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, we'll be for a little while.
Yeah.
Lynn, do you know if that Parks Committee exists anymore, or?
I think there is still, Clackamas County Parks. And I know that they won't do anything with the land, that's why they have to do the
Mm-hmm.
park district. So there's something up there because you have that bike park on Barlow Trail that they do administer. So there's a group somewhere doing something.
Yeah, there's the committee I'm talking about was volunteer. It was all volunteers on the committee, but like community volunteers. I don't know how I could go. I guess it's not important to go back there, but that could be more data that.
Yeah, that's something.
Okay, here was this pile of money that we were all going to share, and once again, Hoodland didn't get any.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that would be really good data to have to go along with the other two libraries.
Mm-hmm.
Look at this history.
You know, you might ask Garth to go back through the newspaper records that would have been in.
It would be in the 90s.
Oh no, but the thought of the additional building, that probably, it's got to be like 2010.
Oh.
Because it was after we took over Hoodland, and we took over Hoodland in 2009. So it's probably late 2009, early 2010. So maybe someone could check the old newspaper records from back then. Or the Women's Club's minutes from back then. But that's the approximate period.
I wouldn't know where to begin.
Yeah, I might call the Mountain Times there. If I could give him a few things, he might remember it. Okay. Is there any more questions or input on the shortfall? No? Is there any old business?
I guess I just need to report that LDAC is now scheduled to meet at the end of May, which will be our first meeting
Okay.
since October. And we'll report when that actually happens.
Yeah. Running out of excuses, I think. Okay, do you want to do staff updates, Sarah?
Sure, so I just wanted to talk a little bit about the Oregon meeting law requirements because we are currently recording our meetings and doing minutes for the meetings. And Oregon meeting law says if you're recording your meetings, you don't necessarily need to write up minutes. So I just wanted to discuss whether the minutes were helpful or if just watching the video is good enough, or what you want to do going forward ultimately.
I like the minutes,
Do you?
yeah. Rather
Darn
than-
it.
It's much easier for me to go back and flip the minutes and I can look at my topic and I can figure out, there it was. And I've got some history built into the minutes. Oftentimes it's not a verbatim minutes.
Right.
But it, gives some of the back and forth discussion in it. And having to watch 2.5, 3 hours of the minutes to try and find it and then take notes off of it, which I'm invariably going to screw them up.
Yeah.
So the minutes are a permanent, clear and concise record.
Okay. I will continue to do the minutes.
I would agree with that, we are old school. So what do you think, Diane?
Maybe we're supposed to have a secretary for the group. And I started taking it on when we were recording the meetings because I could watch the meeting and write the minutes down for it. So maybe when we do new officers coming up soon, we can think about getting a secretary to take the minutes so that they can just forward them to me and I can
Yes,
dump them into iCompass.
that is a reasonable request.
Okay. Okay.
Since the minutes don't, you've determined that they don't have to be extensive.
Right.
Mhm. But just, how would that work if you're relying on the recordings? When we have our meetings, do you need to approve minutes, or that goes away too? Because there's.
I think there has to be an opportunity for people at a later time to reflect back and say, wait, that isn't quite what I said, or
Uh-huh.
kind
Like
of
I today,
clean up
I
like
misspoke.
today.
Right.
You actually have a written record you can reflect on and edit, show where the person said, no, this needs to be corrected. And officially do it, because we vote on it after it's done.
So, just kind of structure or operation wise, when you're making out the agenda, we wouldn't would we say, did everybody review the video and approve, what we're doing, or does that exercise go away? Because now we have a recording, and if you ever have a question, you go back and look at it.
That's a good question.
Well, technically, if you have a video or an audio recording, there aren't any corrections. It is what it is.
Until the next meeting. when somebody says, oh, on that other video,
Uh-huh.
this needs to be corrected. So if somebody watches that video and they don't watch the
I don't think you
subsequent,
would do that, you would just. So you have a video of the meeting.
and somebody bases their argument on that video,
Uh-huh.
and they haven't seen the video of the next meeting, they're gonna, you know, they don't have a full understanding. Somebody comes in for a records request because I want to review the video of the February meeting. They watch it and says, but you guys said this. Somebody's, you know, how does somebody stand up and say, yeah, but you didn't watch the next video, which corrected that record because something was misstated or left out or.
I feel like that's no different than someone picking something up from one set of minutes and then you know, get to read the next ones, you know, I don't know.
Well, the difference is you don't have to watch 2 hours of videos.
Yeah. Just I'm not necessarily suggesting that the video option is better, although it's a whole lot less work because minutes are just a pain.
Yeah.
But
If
just answering the question of, you ask for corrections or alterations or omissions, well, they don't exist if you have the actual record. Photoshop notwithstanding.
It'd be interesting to have the County Hall of Records changed to the County Hall of Videos.
Yeah.
Where's the structure for people to even go back and review? Okay, what video do I watch? You know, or records you can figure out.
Cheyenne, do you have a comment?
Yeah, I mean, I think that this is like, you know, another technology shift because people could say the same about how we had paper documents and then moved to the digital world.
Yeah.
I see the value in having meeting notes. Like it's way easier than going through a 2-hour recording. But I think right now, because there is not a staff person doing it, it's a lot of work and it's redundant having both. So I have a question and a thought. So like right now are we posting the meeting notes online?
Yes.
Are we posting the recordings online as well?
Yes.
So I'm wondering if we posted the recording and then instead of having this like document of the minutes, if it was just like a small overview and then these big conversations, it's just that it's that timestamp of the video, at least until we get somebody to actually write down all those notes to take some of the work off of you. I know in like my personal work, it'll have the video and it'll be like, this conversation happened at 25 minutes, 37 seconds in, and then here's the decision, or here was the point of conflict. And it was just a more streamlined way to do it versus somebody writing everything out. And then if you did want to correct yourself, you could go back, watch that part of the video and make a correction just the same way we do in the notes. It's just a different platform to do so.
So that's the written part you're talking about. Please.
Yeah,
refer
it's
to
just,
this.
yeah. If that's the written part, it's just much more condensed.
Uh-huh.
It's essentially you post the video and then a certain amount of metadata.
Yeah, like a little PDF.
Yeah,
So it's basically a table of contents.
yeah, for your video, and then, but with the timestamps.
Right.
Yeah. Is that less work?
Yeah.
I still have to watch the video again,
Yeah.
but I don't have to take
Well,
notes. I have to watch it to see when each conversation started.
It sounds like that would be the job of the secretary. That's how she would present the PDF.
And maybe we would get a secretary if that's all they had to do instead of taking meeting notes.
Yeah.
Is that, am I understanding you correctly, Cheyenne? That's what the secretary would do?
Yeah, that's at least what I think. Yeah, once we get one, I just feel like whoever's taking the notes now, that's so much time and like work. And then that would maybe free up some of the time for the secretary to do other things.
Okay.
So should I try that for the next minutes, just doing the agenda with timestamps? of when conversations started and
Mhm. If you want to move forward somehow.
I think I would still like to see though, the resolution
Mhm.
stated.
oh, well, you can, we made a motion to do this, those kinds of things.
Yeah,
I could certainly,
Right.
that would be part of it for sure.
Or the subject will be discussed further at, in the
Yeah.
summer or the fall.
Okay, so timestamps and resolutions.
I'm currently trying to get someone to volunteer to be the recording secretary for the women's club. It's the hardest position. I get this terrible feeling I'm gonna end up having to check or someone else is gonna check.
Okay,
So I do have a few more staff updates that were
Okay.
listed on the agenda. So Catherine Cole has accepted a job with Multnomah County Libraries. She's gonna be the manager of the Rockwood branch, library. So, that position will be open very soon. Her second in command, Josh, is planning to move to Missouri. But he is going to be the interim network director, which is Catherine's position, until, so her end date is March 2nd. No, sorry, May 2nd. And so he's gonna continue as the interim network director at least through July and probably until they hire a new network director and he can transfer information to that person. And then that new director will have to hire her assistant. So we're gonna have a lot of change and the county has had a lot of change as well. Instead of the library, the library district being part of business and community services, it is now part of transportation and planning department. So all kinds of reorganization happening at the county level and then within our library people at the county level.
Did you say transit and transportation?
It's transportation and planning.
It's fine.
I actually wrote to the county administrator and I said, you gotta come up with a new name for that department. That is not.
What libraries are about?
Well, it's not that. I said, even frankly, if you wanna get building department material, why would you go to the transportation department?
Yeah.
I mean, the name hasn't made sense for decades. So I suggested to him that he come up with a new name for that division. He said, that's a good point. But these changes, I'm just gonna opine that this is not a good sign for the library district.
So Catherine feels like the transportation and planning division department head is very well respected.
Oh, actually, I don't have any problem with the change there.
Mhm.
It's the loss of Catherine.
Yeah.
Having total new staff at network. Well, we have concurrently had an absolute revolving door in the county in the past 2 years.
Yeah.
There is no continuity, there is no institutional memory.
Well, fortunately, Greg Williams, who was the last network director, is still working in the county. He's at the Oregon, he's the director of Oregon City Public Library. So he still has institutional knowledge. So that's good news. And all the library directors, as we're paying attention, and we've got, we have meetings monthly, and so and as a group, we still have quite a bit of institutional knowledge. Pat Duke is still in the group.
Oh, good.
Oh, no, I'm sorry, he retired. Doris is still in the
You
group.
and Doris are the only two who have any knowledge of how the district was formed.
Which, sometimes getting a whole new group of people in makes things move forward in different ways than you might expect if we had all been the same people, right? Because there are new ideas coming in and new, fresh look at things. So it's not all bad.
Yeah,
Right, and it might be an opportunity to whoever gets that position to like check in with them, constantly send them emails, set up a meeting and let them know the history and like what we're trying to do, what the libraries are trying to do, and make it an important subject to them at the beginning of their employment.
Right.
It could be a good thing. It could go either way.
And it could be someone within the library district who gets the position too.
Right, but we already have trouble within the library district, getting everybody on the same page, so. It just could be more challenging. That's why we need a new district.
Yeah.
It needs to be redefined and start afresh.
okay.
Okay, and then just so that you know, we've got a lot of exciting programs coming up. We have 2 Bee City USA programs coming up in May. And those will be here in the community room. The presenter will be here in person, and we will be doing it as a hybrid event, so you can attend from home and watch and ask questions and things like that. So those are exciting. And those will of course be about pollinators and what they do for us and how to encourage them. So we've got those programs coming up. We've got Dia del Nino, the Children's Day at the end of April. We've got the spring celebration, which we did for the first time last year. The garden club typically is set up outside the library the Mother's Day weekend, I think it is. But we, this last year, did it down in the Ant Farm farmers market space. And we're going to do that again. So the garden club will be down there. The library will be there with our seed library and checking items out to people. And then YE's artisans generally get involved with that and do some sort of a painting tutorial. So, and that was really well attended last year. I think 200 people came. So we're hoping for a good turnout this year as well. So yeah, we're really excited. We've started more programming in the library as well. And our numbers are starting to go up. It was a little bit dismal the first month, February, but they all the numbers have increased significantly. So, and I would say overall, we're starting to see more people coming into the library. So that's good news as well.
Sarah, what year did you start working here after Beth? When Beth left, what year was that?
2014, I believe.
Okay.
Seems about right.
Well, I'm just trying to, I have to go backwards and put together that, the history of the pile of money we once had dangled in front of our face. Do you want to talk about the Oregon law meeting requirements?
We did, that was the,
Okay, you're done with
whether we need to take notes or not.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I have a question. This is off topic, but I asked a while ago about if Link has any plans to do online fee, like fine payments.
And we have been testing the system.
Okay.
Staff have been making payments through it, and it is functional and should be implemented hopefully within the next couple months.
Okay. Oh,
Yeah.
it's like people are always like, I wish I could do it online, then I would actually pay them. Yeah, I think we would get a lot more money if we did.
Yeah, so it is coming hopefully very soon.
Okay, anything else? So we're good?
I think
Okay.
so.
We can be adjourned at what is it? 7:09?
7:06.
7:06.
Okay, 7:06.
For next meeting, we can put that on this one.
I'm not sure when the next meeting will be. It depends on if we have any agenda items ultimately. Generally thinking every other month, is a good time for a meeting. Not too much comes up in between, so. But if we need to have a meeting because a major issue comes up, then we will. But, so this is April, so I think June, we could probably expect to possibly have a meeting.
And it'll still be hybrid.
Yes, I mean, I think going forward, our meetings will be in this format, where you can be in the room or meeting virtual, so.
Nice.
There's one thing in the minutes, I think it was in February, or it might be for the next meeting. Kathleen, do you want an alternative to the LDAC committee?
I would love it if someone would be interested in joining me at LDAC. Some of the other libraries have alternates that come, and then that would permit, if I weren't around or for some reason, it would also create some institutional knowledge so that
Yeah.
when I no longer want to be,
Yeah. You definitely are the knowledge.
that, there would be someone who had seen enough activity and knew how the group operated. So I would love to have someone go with me. We don't actually know, obviously, whether the end of May meeting will be live in person or virtual. They're hoping to have it be live, but
To become an official alternate, we would need to take it before city council, for the county's purpose.
but someone
Because we
could,
had 2 or 3 of us that went to LDAC with you.
No, that was the task,
that was the task
Just the
force.
task
Yeah.
Right, the LDAC is the standing advisory committee for the library district. And each of the libraries has a representative, but I am appointed by city council.
Yeah.
But someone would be welcome to just come if you wanted to see what it's like too. That would be quite all right as well, so.
And you could decide if you wanted to become an alternate.
Right,
And then we could go through the process with city council, forward that person's name to the county, and then they would be an official.
so think about it, and what I can do is once the meeting is confirmed, I'll send out a note.
Cool. I'd be interested to do it with you. To go down.
Yeah. I think anybody who was really interested in the task force might want to, come. Because it would give you a flavor of what needs to be achieved in the task force.
Yeah.
It really is.
Do they record their meetings?
They do now, because we've been doing, Zoom meetings. And before you could listen to audio, I think.
Mhm.
I don't know what they'll do, so it's gonna be interesting. We haven't met in person in 2 years.
It'd be interesting to have a format like this, and maybe the committee itself wants to meet in person, but those like us, if we wanted to just listen to the meeting, that would help the education.
It wouldn't surprise me if that weren't an option, so I'll keep you posted.
Okay,
I'll send out a note once we know what's going on.
yeah,
Thank you.
okay. Next time I'll read all 30 pages. Sorry.
All right,
Okay.
let's stop recording.
Okay.